has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 296, Uncomfortable Conversations and Happy Cow. Hey kids. Uh-oh, there it goes already. Hey kids, it's Michelle. I'm sorry, I have a bad cold and a terrible cough. And I'm in a hotel room in England in a city called Bristol, which is a lot of fun. But I wanted to record my podcast today, and maybe it's not going to work. We'll see. We'll see if my voice holds up, and I'm sorry if it's grating for you to listen to. It's not ideal, but that's how we do things here. We don't wait for it to be ideal. So anyway, I was wondering who out there loves to have an uncomfortable conversation. And that would definitely not be me. I am wired to avoid confrontation and uncomfortable conversations. I don't like complaining. I don't like sending things back. In a restaurant, I would really, honestly, my solution would probably just not to go back. I would not really feel great about complaining. And I kind of think of this, it's sort of my self-image of being basically nice, nice in air quotes. Nice people don't moan and complain. But what if it is actually not a complaint? What if it is just feedback that a serious business owner might consider? They could discount it if they want, but they might also consider it. Do you hear the motorcycles? Back in January of this year, I went to Paris by myself for a few days. I stayed at a vegan hotel. I ate only at vegan restaurants. And I absolutely thought that I was going to come home and do a couple of fun podcast segments about it as soon as I got home. Paris solo trip, vegan hotel, vegan meals, perfect, right? And then I got home and I didn't talk about it. And it wasn't because I forgot. And it wasn't because, I didn't do what I had said. It was because I was in a real quandary. I did not know what to say. And after almost 300 consecutive weekly episodes, you're probably thinking, really? Finally? But I really didn't know what to say because my work here is really always to help, to encourage and support and simplify. And that's much more my comfort zone than critique or criticism. I am not trying to become a pundit or a critic on vegan travel or vegan dining establishments. I'm not ever hoping to dunk on small businesses. I want vegan restaurants and vegan businesses to do well. I want to support them. I want to recommend them. And I really want them to thrive. But the truth is, I never really discussed my food experiences in Paris because, for the most part, they were underwhelming. And today, as I'm recording this, I'm in the UK. I've been here for a few days, and I think it might be time. It might be time for me to have this uncomfortable conversation after all, because it isn't just what happens in Paris or in the United States or in the UK, there is a pattern I have noticed. And, I don't think I'm the only one, because I know here we do want to support vegan establishments, of course. We're always hearing that vegan restaurants are struggling, closing, barely hanging on. And we know the economics for all restaurants are difficult. It's a tough life. So naturally, if you care about this movement, and if you care about animals, and if you care about people having good plant-based options in the world, you feel protective. And I know I do. I just want to cheer them on. I just want to, spend my money there. I want them to stay open and be there the next time I'm in town. But I'm starting to think that sometimes in my desire to support vegan businesses, I might be I am grading them on a curve, and I don't think that's helping. In fact, I think it's really part of the problem because, for example, if you know me, I'm not a huge fan of Happy Cow. Happy Cow seldom is really that helpful to me. And sometimes I find the reviews just mind-boggling. And I want to be fair. I am glad Happy Cow exists. And I'm not in a position to scold them in any way. I'm not judging their policies. But as a user, especially while traveling, I want the app to feel helpful and trustworthy. And lately, for me, it has not felt that way. I have gone too many places with glowing reviews and found myself thinking, really? Is this the place everybody raved about? And then checking, are these reviews 5 years old? Sometimes the food's fine. Fine. Not awful, fine. Very often it's careless. It's often overpriced. I've had some, just in the last couple of days, I've had some pretty gloppy, unsophisticated, not very thoughtful meals. And sometimes I know it looks creative on the menu, and then it arrives looking like no one cared how it turned out. Or what I've said to my husband lately, I don't think anyone's ever tasted this dish before they sent it out. Now, typically, I find the service is very friendly. Sometimes, the spaces are sometimes a little more funky, a little less precious and bougie, and that's fine with me. And sometimes the whole thing feels like it's getting credit, though, for being vegan rather than credit for putting out good food that's vegan. So I've been wondering this week, as I've really been stressing on this issue, and what do I say about the meals I've had while traveling? Are we reviewing these places honestly as vegans, or are we reviewing them as people who really want them to survive? Both good things, but they're not the same thing. And I understand the impulse. That's why I sometimes don't discuss what I found in certain restaurants, because I want them to survive. But in the meantime, I don't think we're doing them a real service. And of course, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to pile on. I don't want to become that girl lobbing criticism at a small independent business trying to make it. So this is why I came home from Paris and said nothing, because I thought, my job is to support. But after enough underwhelming experiences and hearing a lot of complaints about how vegans are not supporting vegan establishments, I'm wondering if there's something else that we're missing. I'm starting to think that silence isn't support, my silence anyway, and vague praise is not really support either. So if we have a review platform, for example, like Happy Cow, and if it's used mostly to cheerlead, it stops being very useful, at least to me. And I really felt that here in the UK this week. I had a delicious meal, though, at a vegan Vietnamese restaurant called Sen Viet, the kind of place I would happily tell people about. And when I went to give it a review on Happy Cow, I could not find it. It was not there. Now, maybe that was me. Maybe I searched badly. Nope. Actually checked a few times. Nope. And that experience really captured the problem for me. Well, at least it gave me the idea of talking today about platforms like Happy Cow. And the awkward part is sometimes, in my experience, much more often a vegan meal at an omnivore restaurant is significantly better. And that's kind of upsetting. That's upsetting when it's a little bit more thoughtful and more carefully seasoned and attractively presented, and has a combination of flavors and textures on the plate, and it's more satisfying, and it looks like somebody took it seriously. And I'm sorry, I'm finding that a little bit upsetting right now. Not because omnivore restaurants shouldn't have great vegan options. I'm so delighted that they do. But when a restaurant that serves animal products is putting more care into its vegan dish than a fully vegan restaurant is putting into its whole identity, I don't know what to do with that. I find it very confusing because being vegan is not enough in a restaurant. It's a business, right? It's not somebody's house where you showed up and they threw some things together with love, maybe for you, but not necessarily tremendous technique. So I say this as someone who very much wants vegan businesses to succeed and be the standard of independent new businesses. I don't want vegan restaurants to survive, though, because people are morally obligated to lower the bar. I want them to thrive because they're actually genuinely excellent. Okay, is this too much? I think maybe it is too much to ask. But I want them to be skillful and delicious and easy to recommend to anyone. I want to be able to bring a skeptical spouse or a non-vegan friend and not have that subtle feeling of, ooh. I want the meal to be good, really, really good. Because so many of us are not living in cozy vegan bubbles. We're traveling with real people and family members and coworkers who aren't vegan like us. So when a vegan restaurant's not very good, you get my point, right? It's disappointing, and it's also a missed opportunity. And when you look at reviews that lead you to expect something much stronger than what you actually get, the platform itself loses credibility. Now, this is what I'm circling back to here, because I'm not attacking vegan restaurants, and I'm not attacking Happy Cow, and I'm not saying that omnivore restaurants are better. I'm saying, where do I belong in solving this situation, at least being part of the solution to it? Because I do care about vegan businesses, and I think some more honesty is necessary. And I'm realizing I need to have uncomfortable conversations sometimes. I need to get a little braver about it. I need to be a little more honest and specific. I need to try to make myself clear and fair and useful. We don't need to go to the edges and say one side is being cruel and the other side is just being a cheerleader. Okay? I think that there's a middle ground that is being a grown-up. And it sounds like, I really want you to succeed. I really want you to stay open and be here. And this meal was pretty bland. Or this meal was extremely overpriced. Or this meal was really sloppily presented. Or this meal had a lot of sauce and glop, but no real vegetables in it. That was a few of my complaints this week. If we want veganism to be taken seriously, then I think we need to treat our vegan businesses seriously. And that means that they can be appreciated seriously and then evaluated seriously. And maybe that's just part of growing up on this issue. Maybe growing up means we stop handing out gold stars just because the place is vegan. Everybody doesn't get a trophy. Anyway, I'm not saying every disappointing meal deserves a public review, for sure. I don't ever want to be hurting vegan places in places like Google and Yelp and TripAdvisor. I really feel like that. I just can't do that. But Happy Cow needs us to be, I think, willing to have some more uncomfortable conversations. Of course, sometimes it's an off night, and the manager who reads it will know that. And of course, probably the most effective thing is to, if you can handle it, mention it to the wait person or the staff or the manager after your meal or with your meal, and mention what the problem is for you. I will say a couple of restaurants this week, I have really not finished my meal because it was really not good, and I was not asked what I thought about it. And I got the feeling that they know their food isn't really that good. And yet their Happy Cow ratings are off the charts. So I don't know if I have a recommendation for anybody else out there. But I do have a recommendation for myself, and I think it is I'm going to be leaving more reviews on Happy Cow, and I'm going to be as fair as I can be. But I'm not going to give 5 stars just because it's a vegan place, and I'm really glad you're there. Support and honesty do not have to be enemies. In fact, I really think they belong together. So that's my uncomfortable conversation for today, kids, from the UK, with my cold, after Paris in January, after more than a few meals, way more than a few meals that have left me conflicted, and after another delicious meal at Saint Viet that reminded me what I'm actually hoping for, and it's a vegan place, and it was not even on Happy Cow. So I tried to put it on. We'll see if we'll see if that gets accepted into the Happy Cow registry. I'd love to hear how you all handle uncomfortable conversations with vegan restaurants and about the food, and if you do reviews or if you're conflicted about leaving reviews that aren't 5 stars for a vegan restaurant. Because if we want vegan restaurants to thrive, not just survive, I think we're going to have these uncomfortable conversations with other vegans, not just other vegan restaurants. And we want to be part of the solution. Just another way we veg our best.
Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.